Hi, Robert Hartline here with the Sales Hustle Club. Thank you for joining us today. I have my friend here, David Florence from Evolution of Dave, to help us with how to struggle with this negative mindset that we have sometimes. Tell us what this episode is all about.
Hello, Robert.
Hello.
So I think this is a realistic episode, I think, because let's face it, most of us occasionally have a negative mindset. And it would be helpful, I would imagine, for most people to know how they could switch that negative mindset. But when I talk about realism, let's be real here. This is a natural state. You know, I think sometimes people can berate themselves for their negative mindset, you know? And then that puts you in a worse state, you know.
Judgment.
Yeah, exactly. You know, damn it, why am I thinking like this? Why am I being like this? Well, actually, you're being like that because this is natural. Your brain is designed to be pessimistic. And it's designed that way because this goes way back to our evolutionary time when it wouldn't have been helpful to us to walk around going, oh, the world is wonderful. Let's smell that flower. Oh, I've had my leg eaten, you know. That saber-toothed tiger has just killed me. So we needed to be pessimistic in order to prepare for imminent danger. So and so we need to remind ourselves of that. This is natural. It is natural for us to be pessimistic. It's not helpful, but it's natural. So our mind is designed to be that way. So to a certain extent, we need to work on the mind. We need to hack the brain so that we can feel what we want to feel. And maybe that's a point number 2. We do have control over our mind. The sooner you realize that, the sooner your life begins to flow. The sooner you realize there are certain techniques that will immediately change your state, the easier your life becomes. So be kind to yourself. Be aware this is a normal state, but you can change it. And perhaps another point here. Occasionally, it is worth being pessimistic, you know? Maybe there really is danger around that corner.
Well, you know, when you're in sales, it does feel a little bit dangerous to go into a business because a lot of our clients are walking in cold to a business and they're walking into a door that says no solicitation.
Right.
And they are ignoring that sign. I tell everyone, just ignore that sign. That sign is only telling you that they're likely to buy, and they're telling others, don't come here because we buy everything. But
we're so weak.
You're so weak. We are weak. Come, tell me something. No, but even that sign will create some negative energy to that person and give a mindset like, I'm doing something wrong. And that is a common feeling that people have in sales where they have this spidey sense that they're doing something wrong because they're interrupting someone, right? And they're interrupting someone's day. And that's why I often tell people, listen, if you can fall in love with the value that you create, you will not have that opinion. If you create value in what your product does and it helps people, if you can fall in love with that, you can remove that negative mindset around that thought, because that's only going to trip you up. If you have that attitude about your product or service that doesn't benefit anybody, you may be selling the wrong thing. But I promise you, I could take any product and find the value in how it helps people. And if you can fall in love with that and understand that value, it will come out in the conversation. But back to that negative mindset, you know, when they are walking in through that door and that they have that little burst of anxiety, the burst of fear. I remember the first time I was cold calling. It was in the summer. It was hot, and I was sweating. And knocking on that door, I was like secretly praying no one to answer. Please don't answer.
Give me a justification. Give me an excuse.
Give me an excuse to run away, right?
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, actually. I think there is a point to make here around understanding the mind. So when you felt that fear, again, it was natural. because the brain is clever, of course. We know it's very clever, but it's not so good at understanding reality versus unreality. In fact, it doesn't know the difference. And it's working in an associative way. It's working in a vigilant way, again, to prepare you or help you or help remove you from imminent danger. So it's throwing up those anxious thoughts, those fear-based thoughts, because it thinks it's helping you. And this is where it's helpful to understand that the mind is just a mechanism. So you have a computer in here, and part of that computer is the mind, and the mind really is just a piece of software that's run in a very specific way. It's very good. It's been designed very well, but it's designed in a way to prepare you for danger. It's designed in a way to be pessimistic, but it's also only that. It is only a mechanism. And so when you understand, therefore, that those thoughts that appear in your mind of fear, of anxiety, are merely just a mechanism, that's kind of tool number one, isn't it? It's sort of, okay, so I now need to be aware that my mind is not me, that I'm not my mind. The thoughts that I have are not me. They are merely just a mechanism. They're really just a piece of software that is run in this loop deliberately to help save me from imminent danger.
And can I add with the imminent danger could be more in a different context? You know, back when we were in a tribe, you could not do anything really silly and stupid, because if you did something silly and stupid, you could be kicked out of your tribe because you could be a danger to the tribe. And so, and that kind of shows up when we are in a social situation. Yeah, especially in sales, you're in social situations where you have to be a little bit courageous in your speech. You got to talk to a stranger, right? And you got to show up, and you got to be someone that is not fearful of that. And so that, you know, the shyness feeling that we tend to get, where we kind of clam up and we become smaller, that is to protect us so we don't say dumb things. Right? But we live in a world that's not going to kill us. There is no danger to overcoming that shyness is an important aspect of selling, being more brave and being more boldened to say things. But, you know, when does that shyness show up more in an energy standpoint?
You've hit upon something really interesting there. I was just thinking that everybody should do the work, in inverted commas, the work being self-inquiry, understanding who you are. Because the more you understand about who you are, the happier you become with who you are. When you're happy with who you are, you no longer care what other people think. So that shyness happens when you care. And it's in other words, if in the mind, your mind is, you're contemplating, if I say this or if I say something wrong, I'm going to look a fool. So it's better, this is how the mind is working, it's better to shut up, stay quiet. That's safe mode. Like the computer, it's in safe mode. I can't be harmed here. Because if I keep my mouth stum, then through not saying anything, people can't go, he's such a fool. So that's how that shows up. That's why that shows up. So therefore, the answer to this is understanding the mind, understanding you, understanding me. And one of the tricks that you can do, one of the things that I've taught people and we've spoken about before, is something to do with positive intelligence psychology and saboteur awareness. And that is when you conduct a test. It's a really simple test online. Everybody can do it. It's free. It's positiveintelligence.com/saboteurs. And what that tells you is the characters that govern your mind throughout the day. And we're all driven in a different way. We all have these characters, which are really essentially memory templates that were created when we were young, up until typically the age of 7 or 8, when our brains are like a sponge and we're just soaking up the world. And we would have created a psychology that served us at that time. So we all have these saboteur psychologies, the main one being the judge. So that's something everybody will be familiar with, and that is the judge, where you're judging another person. You could see somebody walking down the street, they're wearing something that you find is a bit weird, so your brain kicks in with, that's a bit weird, why are they wearing that? Or it could be judging yourself. You know, we're all very good at that. Let's face it. You judge ourselves for certain things. Or it could be judging an experience, judging a scenario. So the judge is kind of the key character that we all have in our mind. It steps in at any given moment. And then under that, you have sub or accomplice saboteurs that are things like the pleaser, for example, the avoider, the hypervigilant, the hyperachiever. And most people here in EO will be hyperachievers. You wouldn't have been anything other than that to get to where you are. And it's served you in many respects, but it equally can be the opposite. The hyperachiever is often somebody, for example, that's searching all the time, searching for the next thing, searching for the next bit of success. They're never happy with what they have right now. So quite often what we talk about, and what I talk about with people on a one-to-one, especially entrepreneurs, is how to be happy with the now, the present, with what you have, because that will help minimize the negative effect of the hyperachiever. So again, that is key to this. Understanding you, understanding how your mind works, understanding which saboteurs you have is a really kind of a key component to dealing with shyness, fear, anxiety. The more you understand this, the easier your life will flow.
So what is a good tool that they could use in those situations where they are about to walk into, I mean, they're in a negative state, but I got to do my visits today. I got to do, what tool could I use?
There's loads, and most of them are mindful based. So let's talk about a breathwork experience, first of all, that you could do, that everybody can do. It's really easy. It's called the physiological sigh. A lot of people say it wrong. They call it the psychological sigh, and I've seen that online quite a few times. It is not. It's the physiological sigh for a very good reason. And that is simply you inhale like this, and then you do a secondary burst, so a little short burst, and then you exhale really slowly, as if you're blowing through a straw. So you have a tiny hole on your lips, and you're just exhaling really slowly. You repeat that process 3 or 4 times. That will calm the mind, calm the system, and that will enable you to switch on your rational, intelligent brain. It will remove you out of that fear-based response, give you a window of time to think rationally. In other words, hang on a minute, why am I fearful of this? This is somebody I've met before. Or this is just like that other person I met the other day. You know,
I can make these phone calls.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
No one will bite me.
No, exactly. Yeah. So, but of course, you're not gonna say that to yourself if you're in the fight-flight mode. Because anything like fear, anxiety, stress, that's all driven by the amygdala part of the brain, this little Neanderthal bit of the brain that's only good for one thing, and that is creating fight-flight responses. Really useful when you're running away from danger, because it gives you more adrenaline, cortisol, it makes you strong. But when you're in your daily sales calls, it's not helpful. You don't need that. So you want a little trick that takes you out of that, and the physiological side will do that every single time. So remember, that's inhale through the nose, a nice big inhale, and then you've got a secondary short burst inhale. And what that does is it moves the oxygen into the capillaries of the lungs, so the extra bit of the lungs, and then the long, slow exhale will calm you down, because long, slow exhales are parasympathetic, meaning they calm and relax the mind and the body. Another trick is to... when you become aware that you're having this fear-based response and you can label it in some way, then what you can do is you have the awareness and you've just said, yeah, I know what that is. That's my avoider character, or that's my judging character. So you're almost saying, right, I've labeled it. And when you label that thought, it removes a lot of the energy and the power. It's almost like the brain's giving up at that point. The brain's going, oh, bugger, you've discovered who I am. You've figured me out. So it's kind of, you've weakened the power behind that thought. And then what you do is you say, oh, yeah, I understand. You know, in this inner dialogue, yeah, I get that, but I'm ignoring you now. Because what I'm now doing is I'm pouring all of my attention on my hand. And I'm looking at the left palm, and I'm running my fingertips over the palm of my hand, and I'm becoming acutely aware of the scars on my hand, the tough skin, the lines on my hand, and I'm just fascinated by this for a minute. And what you're doing, therefore, is you are activating your senses. When you make use of your senses and you pour all of your attention into touch, feel, smell, sight, sound, your brain, the monkey mind, that was working a minute ago can't work anymore. The brain, it doesn't have that power to still keep those thoughts going whilst you've poured all of your attention using your senses into this 1 minute exercise. So it's such a simple thing to do. Everybody can remember that, but you've got to practice it.
You got to practice it, and that's what makes this 60-day challenge work. Is you got to do the daily practices to get the result.
Yeah.
And as a reminder of the 60-day challenge, it is A, get a goal for the next 60 days. B, take away something. Take away a vice that is not serving you. It could be eating sugar. It could be going to McDonald's every day. It could be taking away social media or stopping the active practice of reading the news. Take something away and then add something that it would serve you. It could be reading a book for 10 minutes a day. It could be a daily walk, something that would add to your life. Next thing is that daily intention setting breathwork exercise that Dave has several videos that we have available for salespeople, specifically for you to use on the daily, so you can get into that daily practice of intention setting exercise where you take a moment, you breathe, and you actually put out into the universe a hope or dream or desire that you have for the day, to have the best possible day. Last but not least, fill out a quick form at the end of the day so you can document the wins for the day so you can be ready for tomorrow. That is the 60-day sales challenge. Please visit saleshustle.com for more information on how you can learn to get involved in this free program that's available for anyone that is in sales that wants that extra energy. Speaking of energy, and we got all these different practices, how does one get into that habit of recognizing they're in a negative mindset? Because when you're in that negative mind space, sometimes you're not thinking clear enough to realize there's tools available.
Exactly. So here comes the discipline. Here comes the commitment. And you've got to commit to awareness. And so the thing I often say to people is, every single time you become aware of having a thought, so every time you're sitting there and you're waiting to make a call, or you're traveling in the car, your mind is working 10 to the dozen. It's always, spooling these ideas and thoughts. So at some point, you will recognize that you're having those thoughts. At that point, you need to train yourself to not only be aware, but to understand, okay, what's that? Okay, I know where that's coming from. And then, even if it's a semi-negative thought, in other words, it's not putting you in fight-flight, but it is just a sort of, you're aware it's negative, you're aware it's one of your saboteur characters. And so immediately you then practice that technique. And it could be the physiological side, or it could be mindfulness. And by the way, the mindfulness thing could be anything, really. It could be if you're standing by a window, rather than looking at your hand, you could just pour all of your acute awareness on looking out the window right into the distance. What can I see right in the distance? And now what can I see in the foreground? And then, can I hear anything? Can I smell anything? So that would be the trick, really, to this, combined with things like the morning routine. So everybody has a morning routine, but a lot of people have a morning routine that doesn't serve them. They simply roll out of bed. Immediately they're on their phone. Excuse me. They plod downstairs. They might immediately grab some coffee, shove some food down the mouth, then realize they've got to have a shower. They have a warm shower. Not that some of that is that bad, but you can optimize it. You can upgrade your morning routine. And when you do that, you will see a significant difference. If you have a routine that creates energy, that clears your mind. If you have a cold shower, you mentioned this earlier, cold showers leave you in a dopamine surge for 3 or 4 hours afterwards, meaning 15 minutes after the cold shower, your body's now forcing dopamine, positive dopamine. So not the kind of dopamine that you get from doom scrolling on your phone. We're talking about the dopamine where you get a nice flood of it that puts you in a doing mode, in a conscious, aware action mode, which for sales is surely exactly what we want to be doing. We want to be feeling that.
And let me just point out something about this idea of when you're doom scrolling. Doom scrolling can put you in anger mode. which is very different than doing mode, right? Angry mode is, I'm going to make a comment on this this thing this friend posted. I'll show him. That trigger can put you in that negative space. And I don't know how that helps a salesperson. I mean, we have, and again, as a reminder, and it's something I always say, we're just energy. We start our day, we are only energy, and we get to decide what that energy is. And living in an angry mode does not power your sales. It affects your checking account. I mean, if I could convince you of how powerful this is, I would probably say, you know what, maybe I can't get across to you, but can I get across to your spouse and get across to this message? And that is, when you leave the house, you better have all the energy in the world and all the best conversation about all the positive things you can. I tell everyone, you need to have a conversation with your spouse. You know, if you wake up and your spouse is negative about everything in the world and get all these problems, and then you go out to the world, you will find more problems, and you will not be able to find solutions. And they are out there. And how do we do that? Stay positive. Do positive things in the morning that get you in that positive energy. I'm not saying that we're not going to deal with hard things, but we can do that after work. Because things that happen in the morning affect the paycheck. Your energy is reflected in your bank balance. And if all you get in the morning is feeding yourself with negative energy, it's just going to show up in your bank balance. You're not going to have the balance that you're proud of. And this morning routine thing is something that it took me a long time to understand the true power of having a great routine that's dialed in. And for me, the routine starts the night before, because it starts when I go to bed, right? I want to go to bed not influenced by alcohol, but influenced to get to bed in a decent hour so I can get a right amount of sleep, because bad sleep is, I can't win with bad sleep. And what do you see for those that may be struggling with that sleep thing?
Yeah, well, two things here. First off, we've spoken about a lot of different practices, and I think anybody that is in a low state right now, they're going to be overwhelmed by that. In other words, whoa, blimey, so what do I have to do? I've got to do that, and that. Well, not straight away, no. And working on your sleep would be a really key, real key component to how your next day is going to go. You want good 7-8 hours every night of quality sleep with 2 rounds of REM, our rapid eye movement. This is when the body and the mind heals. A lot of people sacrifice their sleep without realizing that actually sleep is the biggest healer of anything else, bigger than pharmaceuticals, bigger than healthy plant-based compounds, bigger than exercise. Sleep is the most important thing you want to work on. So sleep is all about the bedtime routine. Sleep is also about things like, are you dealing with the stress that's accumulating in the day? In clinical hypnotherapy, we often talk about the stress bucket. And this is a reference, an analogy that suggests that throughout the day, we all experience stressful moments. And this fills up our bucket. It could be an argument with a colleague. It could be somebody cutting you up in a car. Even, mini stressful moments that on their own are not that impactful. But when they accumulate throughout the day. What's amazing about sleep is that we have this rapid eye movement, REM, component of our sleep. It should be twice in our sleep state. And in that moment, REM helps to clear your stress bucket. And it does that by creating a narrative. It creates a dream. So our dream state is really our brain saying, right, okay, well, that's happened today, that's happened today. Let's make it into a story. And that then means if we have 2 rounds of REM, all the stress that we experience today doesn't impact the day after. So it means that we have a good night's sleep. If, however, we allow stress to accumulate throughout the day without doing practices like exercise, without doing breath work, mindfulness, whatever works for you really to minimize the effect of stress, then when you come to sleep, the brain can no longer cope. It can't deal, the stress bucket is overspilled with stress. So what happens is it wakes you up in the middle of the night. So this is why people wake up. It's because they've had too much stress. The brain can't deal with it. The REM sleep isn't working anymore, so it's no longer healing. So it wakes you up because it suspects you're experiencing imminent danger, because you can't possibly have that much stress unless there's danger in your life. That's what the brain is thinking. So the brain is thinking, I better wake him up, or I better wake her up, because there's something coming. They need to be vigilant. They need to be on guard. So this is why we wake up and we're kind of wide awake thinking, what's going on? Your mind's overworking. That's the reason why. So 2 things really. You want to, therefore, build practices into your day that are healthy, that help to minimize the stress. So exercise is a really good one. Breathwork, mindfulness, meditation, movement, flow, or, any one of those will help. And then you want to create a good bedtime routine. So in other words, prepare the mind for sleep. Because if all you're doing is going to bed at 10, 11 o'clock, you've just switched off the TV, you're taking your phone to the bed, you're still looking at the screen. In your bed, maybe you've got a TV. In your bed, it's not particularly dark. Maybe you're going to bed still warm, so it's helpful to have a cold shower actually before you go to sleep, because that puts you in the right temperature state for sleep. Then all you're doing is you're creating a terrible bedtime routine that impacts how you're going to sleep. It impacts how long it's going to take before you get to sleep. If, however, you switch off the TV an hour before, you go to, you wash, you shower, do whatever, you go into bed and you read a book, then that's a good calming way of preparing the mind. You can do certain breath work. There's one that we were talking about this morning called the 4-7-8. And this is it's a sleep breath work, really. It's what you're doing is you're inhaling through the nose for 4 seconds, holding your breath for 7 seconds, and then exhaling for 8 seconds. And you repeat that. And that puts you in this parasympathetic state that prepares the mind for sleep. That would be something you could try.
But it's all about this morning routine, getting the day started. And ideally, how long does one... Would one want to be focused on a new routine before they're going to see like a positive benefit?
Depending on the routine, you will notice immediately because you'll feel good straight afterwards. If you want to get it dialed in so that it becomes a motor response, so it becomes a part of your existence without questioning it, it's going to take a good sort of 3 weeks, 4 weeks before the brain accepts it. But I think a lot of people consider that they don't have time for a morning routine, don't they? They often think, that's all very well and good, Dave, but actually, when I wake up, the kids are screaming, or when I wake up, I've got this and that to do. Well, start off by waking up half an hour early then. It's not difficult for you to do that, despite what you think. And by the way, you don't need an alarm clock. Your body knows when to wake up. You don't need an alarm clock. And what you're doing is you're creating that window of time, say half an hour, and some morning routines can still be amazing and only last 15 minutes. I choose to make mine long because I like doing it. I enjoy doing it. My brain has recognized it's good for me. But, you could do a 10-minute morning routine. It was still going to benefit you. It's not necessarily going to be as good as, say, a half an hour one, but it's still going to benefit you. You could start off there, couldn't you?
Right, absolutely. And that's the whole purpose of this whole exercise with the Sales Hustle Club, is just the awareness of opportunities for us to grow in our sales career. And part of that is just understanding this energy, understanding the awareness of the energy and how we can influence that through the right behavioral changes that we can make that will enhance this. And me add to the morning routine what is common for our people that are using our app. I mean, they're door-to-door, business-to-business salespeople, and they're in their car. What are they listening to? What are you listening to that could influence your energy state? In being aware of certain types of music. Now, if it were me, I would not probably listen to country music. There are a lot of, I'm sure, country music fans.
This is controversial.
I know, absolutely. But I would maybe listen to country music if it was an upbeat song, something that had some energy behind it, something that would get me feeling confident. I want to feel confident. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel in danger, right? I want to feel excited, and I want my heartbeat moving. And I think good music can go a long ways to getting that energy right in the field.
Can I tell you something else that works?
What works?
And by the way, you're absolutely right. Music is key if it's the right kind of music.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do pump out the volume with certain music that I listen to before a meeting. This is going to, for a lot of people, this is going to sound weird.
Okay, hit me with weird.
Okay. Some people will have heard of the simple idea of Om. This practice where you're inhaling and then you're just simply Om. And you can break that sound up into an Ah and then Ooh and then Now, if you did that on your car journey to the next meeting, I guarantee when you get there, you will be in flow. You will be floating. You'll be in a perfect state, knowing that whatever that potential client says to you is not going to take you off your track. It's not going to pull you out of a perfect state. So I did this once for a meeting where I was giving a workshop to 25 managers from around the world at ExxonMobil. They all had been described as techie folk. Very analytical. They wanted science and data to back up my woo-woo fluffy nonsense. So I don't mind admitting I felt some anxiety before that meeting. I was thinking, am I good enough? Am I going to be able to do this? Exactly. So in my 2-hour journey to this meeting, I ommed the whole way. And that literally meant, oh, like this, the whole journey. When I got out the car, I'm telling you, I closed the door and it was like I was just floating.
Oh, wow.
The client came towards me. I had a big smile on my face. And that, of course, impacted them. That changed their state. My state of positive energy entered their state. So I know that I had an impact on theirs. And that workshop has been the best one I've ever done.
Oh, wow.
And I've learned from that.
You know, I've heard you talk about that before, but I had totally forgotten it. And sometimes we have to hear these messages over and over before they sink in.
It's like marketing.
It's just like marketing. It's like sales, you know? You got to keep hitting them with the next call until they become aware of what you offer. Now, another thing that I've heard you talk about before, and this is why we built this into the practice of the Sales Hustle Club, this intention setting exercise, this gamma mindset. To setting an intention and using a power of an emotion to power your day as an extra boost of that energy. Tell me a little bit about how that impacts salespeople.
Well, salespeople above any other person in the workforce will be aware of emotion, probably, I would imagine. You know, that elated feeling that you get when, if you know, let's say you're in a sales room and you get to ring the bell. Does that still happen?
Yes, it does happen in some places.
Yeah. But you know, it's amazing, isn't it? When your fellow colleagues are patting you on the back, saying, "Well done, that's amazing," and you've got this, you know, this incredible emotion running through you. So we know the power of emotion. We know the power of positive emotion. We equally know the power of negative emotion. And this gamma mindset technique basically makes use of positive emotion, joy and love. These are the most powerful. They have the highest energetic state because we know that because we've all felt it. You know, I felt joy once when I was riding my motorbike through the Pyrenees in these twisty roads, and I was screaming in my helmet, literally, because I was in so much joy from, you know, having my knee down on these twisty roads. It was just incredible. That image in my mind is still there. I still get a butterfly in my mind. If I want to feel love, I think about my son. Automatically, boom, I've got this incredible, powerful emotion inside me. You combine that emotion to an intention, and that's how this practice works. You're doing a couple of other techniques of crossing your arms, crossing your legs. That's all to do with rewiring the mind. But you're just really, the whole purpose of this and the power of this is adding an emotion, feeling that emotion, combining it with an intention. Now, a lot of people use mantras. And quite often they say, well, mantras don't really work. And I agree, they don't work unless you apply emotion to them. You know, it's all very well saying, I am the greatest, you know, Muhammad Ali. Well, yes, he did say that, but I guarantee he had an emotion behind it. And it's that emotion combined with the intention that will make you achieve, that will make you have a successful day, that will make you believe in yourself. And that's how the gamma mindset and why it works.
It's the belief that is the true power in this whole exercise of 60 days is building belief practices. At the end of the day, when we are in a heightened state of using positive emotional energy to power us through, when you saw your client and you had the giant smile, you infected him with your positive energy, making it more likely for him to want to do future work with you, making the actual event successful. I mean, we are on stage as salespeople. We are walking into a place often unwelcome, right? Bringing a solution to solve a problem, asking the right question, but with the right level of energy, you will get their attention. And salespeople that walk in with I have to make these calls, I have to make these visits, that place of have to is not going to put anything into your checking account. I get to provide great value today because I love what I do and I'm using love into the work that I do and sharing the message of the product that I have that changes lives and helps people. I mean, I can get in love with what CallProof does for me, but have I really sit and think about, I have a tool that can increase your income. I have a tool that can help you find prospects right around your neighborhood, right where you are. You can spend a few minutes, use our app, identify the best prospect closest to you that is often across the street, but that across the street doesn't have a giant sign that says prospect. You know, it's in some office complex, but you don't realize you have a killer prospect. I know when people use the app to use our routing, to talk to more people, they will sell more. That is why I do what I do. And you can see the energy that came out of me saying that because I'm in love with that. I want to increase their income. And we get to do that. I get to do that. It gives me joy. I love helping salespeople. See, it just fell out of me. You know, see how that drew me into that state of a higher level of positive energy that works in sales. And people will listen to you when you have energy. And that's what you do for us, Dave. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your skills, and wisdom.
Thank you.
And we'll have you again on the next Sales Hustle Club. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to find out more about this exercise of the 60-day Sales Hustle Challenge, you can go visit callproof.com/60-day challenge or just visit saleshustle.com. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of the sales week.